Joel, 1940, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Let's go back. What do you remember when you were just a little boy?
Well, all I remember that we lived in a little row house in the inner cities of Logan of Philadelphia. We were very poor Jewish kids, and my dad died young, and I became an orphan, and my mother placed my brother and I in an orphanage called Girard College, and we grew up in Girard until we were high school.
How old were you when your dad passed?
I was 5 years old, and I have little or no memories of him.
Now, did you continue a relationship with your mom, though?
Yes, I always had a very strong relationship with my mother. She never remarried, and she passed away at 86 in Philadelphia.
What was it like? You remember going to the orphanage?
Yes, I have a lot of memories of Girard growing up in the orphanage. We grew up in groups of people, 100 people in my class, and I returned to Girard College every year in May for the reunion, and I keep in touch with all my high school guys.
Now, did you know your grandparents at all?
Not quite. I have some memory of them, and they were very old. They were not born in this country. Their command of English was not great. However, I do have some memories of them, mainly my mother's mother and father, but not my father's. I don't have much contact with his side of the family.
Do you know what they did for a living back then?
He was a truck driver. He was moving, but that's all I know.
Yeah. Do you have any stories about when and how they got here and where they came from?
The only thing that was told to me is that my mother's parents came from Moldavia, which was part of the Soviet Union, and my father came as a small boy from Poland. And I believe they came through the port of Philadelphia or Ellis Island. I'm not sure at the turn of the century. But that's all I know. The family history is not real clear in my mind.
Tell me now, what was it like growing up in the orphanage? What did you guys do for fun? What were you thinking? What were your hopes?
Well, there was a lot of positive moments in the orphanage. There was a lot of negative stuff. It's like everything else. But from time to time, I questioned why I didn't grow up in a normal household with a mother and father. What am I doing here? But it's the old story about misery loves company.
Right.
When you're all in misery, we were a group of 100 guys. It was an all-white male school at the time. But when you're living in misery, it doesn't bother you. When you're living in poverty and everybody else has nothing, it doesn't bother you as if you're living among wealth and you have nothing.
Right.
So I'm living in misery with these 100 kids, and we got a lot of joy from living together, and it was not, quote, a normal life, but it was an interesting life, and we did a lot of bonding with people, and we made friends, lifetime friends. I'm still bonded with these guys, and I still return every year, and I consider the place my home. And I go there and visit, and I've given them tons of money. I've given them a lot of money.
Now, when you're like in high school,
yes,
you were still in the orphanage.
Correct.
Was it like a normal high school life for you, or was it restricted?
No, it was normal high school during the day, but we didn't go home at night. We slept there. We were there 24/7, and we were under constant supervision. We were always under supervision all the time.
Were you allowed to go out and socialize?
We were allowed on the weekends under supervision, and then, of course, on holidays, we were allowed to go home if you had a parent. Some of these guys had no parents. Luckily, I had my mother and could visit her on the weekends and on the holidays. Other than that, we lived at the school.
Did your mom ever talk to you about why she sent you guys off?
Yeah, well, she was by herself. She didn't have a high school education. She had a small job. She hardly had any money to support herself, and felt that this was a better opportunity. And she was absolutely correct. I got a world-class education. I got opportunities that opened up. It broadened my mind. If I lived in the inner cities of Philadelphia, I mean, I don't know what would have happened. I probably would end up in jail or something. But this opened up all kinds of opportunities. Although some people feel that this is, you have to live in this model, growing up with a mother and father and all. But some of these kids turn out terrible. I mean, but generally, my whole class and the classes before me and after me did very well. Some of these guys did tremendous.
So tell me now, after high school, where do you go?
I went to Temple University in Philadelphia.
Now, how was that paid for?
That was paid for with a combination of a scholarship. I got a scholarship to Temple, sports scholarship, and then I worked part-time. So these kind of things. And I tell people, one of my major goals of getting through Temple University was getting the degree with no debt.
Right.
As opposed to debt. It's mind-boggling. These kids get out $40,000, $50,000 in debt. But I didn't have a car. I didn't date. I knew I had no money.
Right.
I didn't buy clothes.
Right.
I didn't go out on dates. You got to watch your budget.
Yeah.
I didn't have a credit card. I had no credit card.
Yeah.
You
You were very disciplined.
That's why when I went into the Army, after I got out of college, I went in the military.
Well, let me ask you now. In college, you said a partial sports scholarship. What
Yes.
were you playing?
Wrestling.
Wrestling.
I got a wrestling scholarship.
How'd that go for you? Did you
I
enjoy it?
I like wrestling, but I didn't do that well. I was super in high school. But in college, I got killed. I mean, I just couldn't compete. The competition was too much for me.
And what were you studying in college?
Business.
Okay.
I took business administration, accounting.
And what year did you graduate?
1962.
Okay, so when you graduated 62, are you thinking about the military, or are you...
No. What I was thinking about was getting out of college and going to work. Unfortunately, in 1962, there was a major recession, depression throughout the country, to include Philadelphia, and you could not find a job.
Right.
Vietnam was going on, and everybody would tell you, go in the military, go in the military. So I went into the military, and guess what? I liked it. Where everybody else was saying, boy, I don't like the discipline, I don't like to go here or there. Coming out of the orphanage,
Right.
highly disciplined, and you got to go here and there. Discipline, self-discipline, and discipline never bothered me.
Yeah.
I like it. I can't. Since I retired from the military, I've struggled in civilian life by people who say they're going to do things and don't do it.
Right.
Call people on the phone, don't return phone calls, send them this, and it's chaos. This doesn't happen in a disciplined army. People show up, people do what they're supposed to do, or there's heavy consequences. I like that. I like that environment.
Well, tell me about Vietnam, though. Was that a concern to you, though?
It's a concern to everybody,
Well, you're a young kid.
I was a young guy there. Let me tell you something. When I went through high school and college, my travel was, I never left Philadelphia. I mean, I don't go anywhere, do anything. Then I find myself in the military, and I'm all over the world. I mean, holy mackerel, I'm in a plane, I'm flying here, I'm doing this. I mean, the whole world opened up to me. I mean, the Army has the military has unlimited money. They sent me around the world, through Travis Air Force Base in California, Hawaii, then the Philippines, into Vietnam. And I mean, when I first hit New Delhi, India, I thought I was on Mars. I mean, I never saw people like this. The fact is, when I grew up in Philadelphia, and my first assignment was San Antonio, I never saw Mexican people my whole life, or their food, or their culture. And I remember just walking around San Antonio and saying, what do you guys eat, beans and rice? I didn't see, there was no Mexican restaurants in Philadelphia.
Right.
That culture didn't, now it's all over the world, really.
Yeah.
But I never saw it.
So what was the biggest shock for you when you're traveling the world? Where was it that really shocked you the most? It can't be San Antonio.
Shock. I'm not sure the word shock. I just fell in love with different people, different cultures, different ways of life. It really broadened my mind, and I strongly urge people to travel the world. You just don't realize, particularly through the third world, how fortunate you are to live in this country and to enjoy the blessings that we have. You just don't know it until you have been to India or Pakistan or Afghanistan and just see the poverty.
Now, what was your job in the Army?
Administration, administrative, paperwork. I was here before the computers, primarily. We didn't have the computers. And I enjoyed it a lot because it had a large organization, millions of people, billions of dollars. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand. I think that's fabulous. People going here, there, no one knows. I find that fun. Some people would be aggravated with this stuff. I liked it.
So what was the happiest time of your life?
Happy times, some of the happiest times with my wife, married, traveling. The Jewish holidays have always presented happy times to me. Getting together with family and friends were probably the happiest times.
Yeah. And did you have a final rank in the Army?
Lieutenant Colonel. I retired as Lieutenant Colonel after 26 and a half years.
And did you have any advice for the new guys coming into the service? Did you have anything to talk to them about, to prepare them, to let them know what they're in for?
In the service or out of service? Coming in.
Coming in.
Roll with the punches. It's a big system, and do your best, and you'll succeed. And just keep a positive attitude, and you'll be all right.
Today everything is so political, but when you were in the service, was politics a part of what you guys were
Everything.
Doing?
It's always political. There's always an element of politics involved. Absolutely.
Yeah. But was everybody okay with that together?
Well, yes and no. You're in with people. Some you get along with, some you don't. Some you get about.
Like in civilian life.
Right. There's in any organization, some people you bond with, some people you got to stay away from because they just don't connect with you. So it's just people are people.
How did you wind up in Dallas?
Well, I retired in San Antonio with my wife, Carol. And I thought I was going to live in San Antonio the rest of my life and die. She got sick and passed away. So I ended up living there by myself, and I got on J-Date. I said, I got to find myself another woman here. I want to get married again. So I started dating a lot of women, but I didn't connect with any of them because I had my ideas of what I was looking for. And my wife, Ann, was on J-Date, but she lived in Dallas. My intentions was not to leave San Antonio, but we started, life plays games on you. But she was up here and, come up and visit me in Dallas, and I brought her down to San Antonio, and one thing after another, and I said, fine,
Now, I'm sure as a kid you were an Eagle fan.
I a little bit in sports. I've never been big in sports.
Okay, so it's like the Cowboys aren't the big thing compared to the Eagles now.
Right. I'm not that big in professional sports and following them all.
I just want to make sure that whether you converted or not from Eagle fan.
I did. But really, the team that I really was the San Antonio Spurs.
Yeah.
was the one that I followed most. I went to a lot of those games but since coming up here, they kind of faded, because I got other priorities up here.
Yeah. Was there an invention in your lifetime that came along that you go, how did we ever live without that?
Technology. The iPhone and the computer has just totally changed the way we do business, how we think, how we communicate. Is this all this technology? I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I just look at the iPhone. I don't know how it does it.
Right.
It's a mystery to me, but I know what it can do. Now, how it works and how this phone works and all these apps work, I mean, if I took it apart, I don't know I can't figure out how the heck they did this. But I know it works.
Now, in the Vietnam era, you were in Vietnam, but you weren't in combat.
Correct.
What was it like?
When I was in Vietnam, I was only there a day. I was just going through there going to the Middle East. So it was just a stopover point for me.
Yeah. You know the mood of the military, though? Because, the Vietnam War, obviously, as you know.
Well, the mood of the country was against us.
Right.
I worked at a recruiting station in Providence, Rhode Island for a while. And the citizens kind of turned against the military for doing what we did. But we had no choice. There was a draft going on. We drafted young men into the military, and I was participating in that. And the whole country changed when we went to the volunteer army. I mean, the whole thing changed. We got a lot of malcontents. The draft had a lot of problems, but it had a lot of positive things about drafting people. Right. But it had a lot of negativity. The volunteer force came in, and that was directly attributable to increase the salaries and benefits. When the salaries and benefits are competitive with civilian, now you're going to get a lot of recruits. And that's what happened in the military. So today, they've been able to get their quota of people through good benefits, and with a poor economy, and high school and college graduates still are struggling for jobs. We still have this big job market.
Now, you and your wife, Ann, are you guys involved with the Jewish community in Dallas at all?
We're very involved in the Jewish. We're active members of Temple Emanu-El synagogue here. I'm a member here at the Jewish Community Center and the Hebrew, and I'm primarily in 5 veterans organizations. I'm with Jewish War Veterans 256. I'm with Moab, the Officer Association, the Army Association, the American Legion, and American Veterans with Disabilities. So I'm in 5 veterans organizations, and I firmly support our veterans who I don't think the Congress is treating them fairly. I mean, I'm down there at the VA hospital, and I'm seeing what happens, and I think we could do a lot better for these people. That's just my opinion.
So what advice do you have for the next generation?
Well, that goes into one of the things that I thought I have here in this little paper, okay. What I want people to know about me. I've written 6 things that I want you to know about me.
Okay.
The first that I'd like to say to the United States of America, I owe a debt for the opportunity he gave me to be free, to earn a living wage, to be Jewish, and to be me. The second thing, to my parents, I owe America. They gave it to me, and I leave it to you and everyone else. Please take care of it by voting, paying taxes, and being a good citizen. 3, to the Jewish biblical tradition, I owe the belief that man does not live by bread alone, nor does he live alone at all. No one should separate himself from the community. I've always been an active member of the synagogue or temple and the Jewish community. In addition, I've supported many veterans organizations and give my time and money. Number 4, to the 6 million of my Jewish people and the 9 million other human beings who died because of man's inhumanity to man, I owe a vow that it must never happen again. Number 5, I leave you not everything I never had, but everything I had in my life. Great marriages, a good family, great friends, a living wage I earn, respect for learning, compassion for my fellow man, a lot of travel around the world, great memories, and some words for all occasions, words like forgiveness, grateful, and love. Finally, number 6, I spent my life trying to do 2 things: being a mensch, a caring, concerned human being, and making a better world than the one I found when I was born. I feel that I've achieved my goals in my life. I hope that you and everyone will try to do the same. As Stephen Girard, my stepfather and benefactor of the orphanage, Girard College that I live, stated in his will, my deeds must be my life.
Great job, man. Appreciate you doing this.
Good morning. My name is Jo Reingold, and I'm recording one of our guests here this morning.
My name is Joel Batalsky. I'm 78 years old. Today is Friday, October 19, 2018. We're recording this at the Jewish Historical Society, the Jewish Community Center here in Dallas, Texas. This is my second oral history DVD. I was born and raised in Philadelphia, graduated from an orphanage called Girard College. Then I attended Temple University, and after graduation spent 26 and a half years in the military service, having traveled around the world many times. I was married 3 times. I'm currently married to Ann Batalsky. We've been married over 10 years and have a wonderful marriage. I have no children. I would like this video to be played at my funeral. The biggest change in my life is that I'm now in poor health, i.e. health problems with a pacemaker, hearing problems, sleep apnea, etc. Why this video now? Because things have changed in my life since the last recording, and in my opinion, that my life is important and meaningful, and I should record my thoughts as I encourage everyone to do the same thing. I think ethical wills, memoirs, is very important to be recorded. I'm searching for meaning in my life. What do I mean? What I really yearn for is to make order out of disorder, to gain insight into the unknown forces that determine my life, to try and understand suffering and why people are so dysfunctional. Why is there so little compassion and gratitude in this world? Why am I drawn to unity and so disturbed by chaos? In my opinion, life itself is really a search for unity, or a search for a higher end, or a search for God and the ultimate unity. I have tried to unite my body and soul with my thoughts and my deeds. Unity is harmony within diversity. All of me have come to the final realization that there's none else besides God. God was with me when I was born, throughout my life, and He will be there when I die. In order to better understand what I'm about to say today, I'd like to introduce and discuss the 4 noble truths of Buddhism. The first noble truth is life is suffering. We all know that everybody suffers, but in suffering there is happiness. So life becomes a balance between happiness and suffering. Some people suffer a whole lot more than others. Some people are more happier than others. But I believe by studying it, you can make yourself both suffer and you can make yourself happier. And I'll talk more about happiness later. The second noble truth is the cause of suffering is desire. And the third noble truth is the cure for suffering is to remove the desire. And the fourth and final is to remove desire, you have to follow the Eightfold Paths. Right view, right intentions, right actions, right speech, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. And if you're interested in this, you could go into it in more depth. However, it focuses around thinking, internal thinking in your mind. In Buddhism, one main purpose of life is happiness. More broadly, good versus evil is not the central issue in religion, in their religion. It's ignorance versus wisdom. Because we do not understand our own nature and the reality we inhabit, we create suffering for ourselves and for others. Now I want to briefly discuss the Hebrew Bible and the book of Kohelet, also known as Ecclesiastics. To begin the discussion, the meaning of life was discussed in this book and written down over 3,000 years ago. Kohelet stated that whether you are rich or poor, wise or foolish, the end of life is the same. What is the sense then of denying yourself in order to gain material things or wealth, which you will not have the time or to enjoy it, or be wasted on somebody else after you? Kohelet looked at life as a cycle of life in which time is the most important event. To everything there's a season and a time for each matter under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant, a time to uproot that which is planted. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time for war and a time for peace, etc. In my opinion, time is life. To a young person, the days are short and the years are long. But to me, the days are long and the years are short. Finally, I want to bring up my concept of happiness. Most people feel that happiness is the main purpose in life, but do not know how to explain it or to achieve it. The following is the way I recommend that everyone achieves happiness. One of the greatest things is gratitude. Gratitude is acknowledging and appreciating your blessings. I know how many times I've gone out of my way, sent money, etc., to help people out and never get a thank you. Is that gratitude? What is happening? Gratitude has to be taught by your parents, your teachers, etc. But people who are grateful generally are happy people. The second is compassion. Compassion is the practice of the golden rule to love your neighbor as yourself. You have to get back into society. I have actively joined, participated in Temple Emanu-El Brotherhood, Disabled American Veterans Chapter, American Legion Post, Jewish War Veterans, Greater Dallas Veterans Council, and Association of the U.S. Army, helping veterans and other people. Again, compassion must be taught. It must be shown by the parents and everybody. It's so important, in my opinion, to know gratitude and compassion. More important to know reading and writing, or math, or history. We in our school systems put so much emphasis upon material success, and we lack compassion and understanding. Why don't we switch it? Acceptance is another one. It's about dealing with things in your life you cannot change. I believe we have little free will in life. We're born, we didn't choose our parents, the country. Most of the things in life, let's be honest, we have very little free will. Yet people complain all the time. Just accept it. There's nothing you can do about it. Understanding meaning of our lives through the following questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is this world? people who try to find meaning in life are happier people. I know a lot of people, I ask them, what's your meaning in life? They say, I don't know, I don't care. I think people who try to understand where you are and what you're doing, you're going to be a happier person. Last thing is forgiveness is a volunteer choice you make. Forgiveness is an important part of Judaism. That's a choice you make to forgive people. We're in a dysfunctional world. People do things that they may not be aware of. We have to practice forgiveness. Last is relationships become more positive when we prioritize them. And again, most of life is about positive relationships. I would now like to read Steve Jobs, founder of Apple Computer's final essay before he died. Now this is Steve Jobs. He died a billionaire at age 56. This is his final. I've reached the pinnacle of success in the business world. In some others' eyes, my life is the epitome of success. However, aside from work, I have little joy. In the end, my wealth is only a fact of life that I'm accustomed to. At this moment, lying on my bed, recalling my life, I realize that all the recognition and wealth that I took so much pride in have paled and become meaningless in the face of my death. You can employ someone to drive the car for you, make money for you, but you cannot have someone bear your sickness for you. Material things lost can be found and replaced, but there is one thing that can never be found when it's lost. That's life itself. Whatever stage in life you're in right now, with time you will face the day when the curtain comes down. Treasure love for your family, love for your spouse, love for your friends. Treat yourself well and cherish others. As we grow older and hopefully wiser, we realize that a $300 or a $30 watch both tell the same time. You will realize that your true inner happiness does not come from the material things of this world. Whether you fly first class or economy, if the plane goes down, you go down with it. Therefore, I hope you realize when you have mates, buddies, old friends, brothers and sisters, who you chat with, laugh with, talk with, sing songs with, talk about north, south, east, west, or heaven and earth. This is true happiness. Don't educate your children to be rich. Educate them to be happy. So when they grow up, they will know the value of things and not the price. Eat your food as your medicine, otherwise you have to eat medicine as your food. The one who loves you will never leave you for another, because even if there are 100 reasons to give up, he or she will find a reason to hold on. There's a big difference between a human being and being human. Only a few really understand it. You are loved when you are born. You'll be loved when you die. In between, you have to manage. The 6 best doctors in the world are sunlight, rest, exercise, diet, self-confidence, and friends. Maintain them in all stages and enjoy a happy, healthy life. In summary, living a meaningful life to me means finding meaning in everything I do and encounter, beginning with the natural world. I try to follow these 4 rules of life. 1, belong to people. 2, accept suffering as part of my life. 3, know that I made a difference. 4, know as God told Job, much in the world is beyond my comprehension. I want to thank you very much for listening to this video.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Right.